Awaken your spirit, chosen one. There's something about you they can't put into words. You walk into rooms and silence follows. You speak truths no one else dares to whisper, and somehow what you feel always comes to pass. You knew they were lying before the words even left their mouths. You felt the shift before the chaos even arrived. You sensed their intentions before they acted, and now they're left in shock, asking themselves, how did you know? They thought you were overthinking. They said you were too emotional. But it wasn't emotion, it was prophetic clarity, a knowing that comes from deep within your soul. A sacred whisper from the divine saying, this one sees what others ignore. You're not just intuitive, you're tapped in, connected to a source they've never felt, never respected, never understood. And that scares them. You've heard the term sixth sense. But yours isn't just a sense, it's a spiritual radar, a silent frequency that picks up the vibrations of truth and deception, of coming storms and unseen blessings. You move through the world like someone who's read the final page of the book before the story even begins. You sense betrayals, you foresee transitions, and you feel the energy of a room before anyone even speaks. Here's the twist: they never saw you coming. They were playing games in the physical while you were receiving downloads in the spiritual. They were playing checkers. You were seeing the entire chessboard from above. You weren't reacting. You were already steps ahead, quietly observing, letting time reveal what your spirit already confirmed. That's the power of being chosen. You didn't ask for this gift. It was placed inside you before you were born. And yes, sometimes it felt like a burden. You felt crazy for knowing what you couldn't explain. You second-guessed your instincts because people gaslighted your discernment. But now the very ones who mocked you are speechless. Events unfolded just like you said. The ones they trusted turned out to be snakes. The situations they ignored turned into storms. And you walked away untouched, unbothered, protected because you saw it coming. If this gift wasn't hidden, if your knowing hadn't been protected, the world would have tried to exploit it, drain it, or label it as madness. But the divine kept it tucked away, only visible to those with pure hearts and clear intentions. Your gift was hidden because it had to be, because you had to be protected before you could be positioned. The silence wasn't rejection, it was preparation. The loneliness wasn't punishment, it was calibration. You had to learn to trust what you felt, even when no one else did. And now, that inner trust is your superpower. Chosen one, you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to foresee, to forewarn, to prepare the way. You are a vessel for divine insight, a walking prophecy in a world of confusion. That's why people are stunned. That's why they stare. That's why they whisper. Because everything you saw in the shadows has now stepped into the light, and they're scrambling to understand how you knew before it ever even happened. And now, it's your time to walk boldly in your gift, to trust your discernment without apology, to understand that this knowing isn't a curse, it's your calling. You were born for such a time as this. If this spoke to your soul, like this video, subscribe and comment below with "I saw it before it came" to join this journey. Because you're not crazy, you're not paranoid, you are chosen. And your knowing is sacred, chosen one. You didn't imagine it, you didn't overthink it, you didn't make it up. That feeling deep in your chest, that whisper in your soul that tugged on you, that sudden knowing that came out of nowhere. It was real and it was divine. You've been walking this earth wondering why you see things other people don't, why your spirit tightens before a storm even clouds the sky, why your heart grows heavy when someone's words don't match their energy. Why you can walk into a room and feel the truth before it's ever spoken. That's not paranoia. That's not sensitivity. That's not too much. That's your anointing. You are a chosen one. And your spirit has been trained, not by books, not by man, but by the divine. You are not like the others. You're wired differently. You carry a light in a world that profits off of confusion. You carry a knowing in a world that lives in denial. You are the one they look at and whisper, "How did they know?" Because they can't explain it. You weren't supposed to know. You weren't supposed to walk away from betrayal before it hit. You weren't supposed to avoid the trap. You weren't supposed to say no before the fallout came. But you did, because something in you saw it before it even arrived. And they're shocked. They're confused. They're speechless. They told you you're just imagining things. They laughed when you warned them. They called you dramatic when you shared your concern. They said, "There's no way you could know that." But you did, because you felt it, because heaven whispered to you, because your spirit is connected to something ancient, something divine, something eternal. And now, the very same people who doubted your discernment are watching your warnings come to pass like clockwork. You were never meant to be validated by them. Your gift wasn't given for applause. It was given for protection. It was given to keep you a few steps ahead in a world designed to keep chosen ones distracted and deceived. You didn't walk away from those people because you were cold. You walked away because your spirit saw 1,000 invisible threads that led to destruction. You felt the shift. You heard the silence behind the fake smile. You noticed the way their eyes betrayed their words. You sensed the storm behind their calm. That's spiritual insight, that's divine discernment, that's prophetic protection. And while they were busy pretending you were preparing, they thought they had time. They thought they had you figured out. But while they were watching your face, you were reading their energy. You saw the move before they even touched the board. And when the chaos hit, when the truth spilled out, when the mask slipped, you were already gone, already healed, already on to the next chapter. That's why they're shocked, because they didn't believe in your power, because they underestimated your connection, because they thought you were playing checkers while you were quietly playing divine chess. They wanted to confuse you. They wanted to manipulate your mind, twist your reality, and gaslight your intuition. But you were not confused. You were quietly aware. You were not weak. You were deeply grounded. You were not broken. You were being built. And now that the truth has come to light, they're left sitting in the same mess they created, staring at the space you used to fill, whispering among themselves, how did they know? Why did they leave before the fallout? What did they see that we didn't? But it wasn't something you saw with your eyes. It was something you felt with your spirit. It was something heaven deposited into you, a sacred warning, a divine nudge, a vibration that whispered, move now. And you listened, even when it didn't make sense, even when they laughed, even when you didn't have all the facts yet. You trusted your inner knowing. You moved in faith. You obeyed the pull of purpose. And now look, everything you felt has unfolded in front of them. Everything you saw in your spirit has become the reality they cannot escape. You didn't just see the signs, you understood the message. You decoded what they couldn't even recognize. Because you are not here to react to life. You are here to move before the moment, to shift before the shift, to exit before the explosion, to discern before the deception. You were never meant to just survive. You were created to outmaneuver darkness, to walk ahead of destruction, to live so in tune with the spirit that danger gets frustrated when it can't catch up to you. Chosen one, you are spiritually equipped. Your discernment isn't a flaw, it's your divine firewall. Your weird hunches are not weird. Your intuition is not soft. Your instincts are downloads from God. You are one of the few who can read energy like scripture. You feel things others can't name. You walk into a room and know exactly who's real and who's pretending. You know when something is off before it happens. You see endings from the beginning. You sense heartbreak before the mask even smiles. It's because you've been chosen, not just to see, but to know. To carry a spiritual compass inside of you that always points you away from harm and toward divine alignment. And yes, there were. And times when you doubted it. There were moments when you silenced that inner voice to keep the peace. You stayed in rooms your spirit begged you to leave. You entertained conversations that made your soul shrink. You gave chances when God had already given closure. But those moments weren't failure. They were training. They were divine classrooms. Because even in the delay, you learned the voice of God. You learned how to trust your own. You learned that peace is your confirmation and confusion is your warning. You learned that you don't need evidence when your spirit gives revelation. And now you're unshakable. Now you don't wait for people to show you who they are. Your spirit already knows. You don't chase closure. You walk in clarity. You don't fight for a seat at anyone's table. You build your own altar and let heaven sit with you. The people who once doubted you are watching their own masks dissolve. The ones who laughed at your silence are now haunted by your absence. They used to ask you for advice, and now they study your moves like prophecy. They're confused how you keep escaping their chaos. They don't realize you're not escaping. You're being carried by divine intuition, carried by ancestral wisdom, carried by discernment so sharp it cuts through pretense like a blade. And the more you trust it, the more powerful it becomes. Because the more you obey your spirit, the more clearly it speaks. You're not just gifted, you're aligned. You're not just spiritual, you're anchored. You don't just survive attacks, you sense them coming before they even form. Chosen one, you are the quiet storm they can't predict, the gentle whisper that speaks thunder, the calm presence that sees through chaos like glass. You don't need to shout your power. It's felt in your absence. It's known in your movements. It's confirmed every time you leave, just before everything falls apart. You don't need validation. You don't need applause. You just need your discernment and your willingness to follow it without apology, because the same people who questioned you are now asking how you knew. The same people who ignored your insight are now caught in the trap you warned them about. And you're walking in peace, not because you avoided the storm, but because you listened to heaven before it came. Keep listening, keep moving, keep knowing. You were born for this. They didn't understand why you left, why you suddenly pulled away, why you went silent when things seemed to be going so well. To them, it felt abrupt, cold even. But what they'll never fully grasp is that you saw the end before it started. You didn't need drama. You didn't need a final blow-up or a grand betrayal. You didn't need all the proof laid out in black and white, because your spirit already whispered, "This is not where you belong." You felt the shift. You sensed the exit before the explosion. And so, without needing to explain yourself, you chose peace over performance. You chose protection over participation. You chose yourself. They assumed you were reacting to something in the natural, but you were responding to something in the spiritual. You knew the game was changing. You knew the mask was slipping. And instead of waiting for the house to burn, you slipped out the side door and never looked back. That's the part they'll never say out loud. That you left before the crash. And now they're sitting in the wreckage trying to pretend they didn't notice you were the one holding the warning all along. There is a sacred power in moving in silence, in letting your actions be your boundaries. You don't need to scream, beg, or plead when your soul has already outgrown the room. When you know who you are and what you carry, you don't wait for chaos to confirm it. You exit with grace. And when people see that, when they watch you walk away with your peace intact and your spirit undisturbed, it shakes them in a way they can't explain. Because they've never seen someone leave a table without bitterness. They've never seen someone choose solitude over validation. They've never seen someone so sure of themselves. They don't need to argue when they already know the truth. You saw what they were trying to hide. Not because they told you, but because your gift won't let you play along with what your soul already knows is false. You could feel the performance. You could feel the jealousy, the envy, the quiet resentment tucked behind the compliments. You could feel the shift in energy when you succeeded. You could feel the coldness in their smile. You could hear the lies even when their mouths never moved. That's the power of your discernment. That's the edge they never saw coming. And so you left. Not because you were afraid, but because you were already ahead. While they were still trying to play their part, you had already read the script. You saw the twist, the betrayal, the collapse, and instead of waiting to be the villain in their story, you became the silent revelation they never expected. That's why they talk. That's why they whisper. That's why they replay everything. You said, because they know. Deep down, you knew. But chosen one, don't regret walking away. Don't look back and wonder if you were too harsh, too sensitive, too guarded. Your spirit was doing exactly what it was designed to do, protect you. You didn't lose anything by leaving. You avoided losing yourself by staying. And now you know how powerful your silence is, how sacred your energy is, how many storms you avoided simply by trusting your gut before it became your wound. That's the kind of wisdom the world can't teach. That's divine intelligence, that's spiritual maturity, and it doesn't just come when you're awake. Sometimes it finds you when you're resting, when your mind is asleep but your spirit is wide open. That dream that made no sense when you woke up, that voice that called your name in the stillness, that heaviness that sat on your chest. At 3 a.m., that wasn't your imagination. That was the divine reaching into your subconscious and planting seeds of warning, of direction, of truth. Because your dreams aren't just dreams, they are messages, maps, clues from the spiritual realm. They are downloads from a source that's always watching, always guiding, always speaking, especially when you're quiet enough to listen. You've been dreaming things that happen days, weeks, even months later. You've felt names drop into your heart before they even reach your ears. You've woken up with clarity that makes no sense until it does, until everything unfolds and you realize your spirit already showed you. You are spiritually awake in a world that's spiritually asleep. And yes, that can feel isolating. Yes, it can feel lonely. Yes, it can feel like you're carrying something no one else sees. But you're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not cursed. You are called. You were marked long ago to walk between realms, to see both the visible and the invisible, to understand things others ignore, to carry a level of awareness that makes deception impossible. You see the strings behind the performance. You see the root beneath the fruit. You don't just react to what's happening. You understand why it's happening. And that's why people either fear you or follow you, because you expose what they'd rather keep buried. Your presence disrupts illusions. Your knowing disarms control. Your voice carries weight, not because it's loud, but because it's true. And truth shakes everything built on lies. You never needed to be loud to be powerful. You never needed a title to be anointed. You never needed a spotlight to shine, because when you're truly chosen, you carry a frequency that reveals everything in the room, even when you say nothing at all. And that's what terrifies people. Not your words, not your actions, but your ability to see, to feel, to know. They can't hide from it. They can't fake their way past it. They can't mask the energy you've already read. And that's why so many try to silence you, distract you, discredit you, because if you ever fully own what you are, if you ever fully step into that discernment, if you ever fully trust that gut instinct, those dreams, those downloads, they won't be able to control you anymore. You won't need confirmation. You won't need evidence. You'll walk by revelation. You'll speak what others won't dare to say. You'll move before the threat even forms. And you'll do it without fear, without apology, without looking back. Because once you trust your knowing, once you realize it's not just a feeling but a gift, once you accept that your spirit is being fed by something much higher than logic, you become unstoppable, unshakable, unbreakable. You become a vessel heaven can trust. A messenger darkness can't block, a force people can't predict, so keep listening, keep dreaming, keep walking away from what doesn't feel right, even if you can't explain it yet. Keep trusting the shift, even if it means being misunderstood. Keep honoring the feeling, even if it means being alone for a while, because that feeling is leading you. That still, small voice is shaping your steps. That unshakable knowing is your compass, and it will never steer you wrong. You were born to see. You were born to sense. You were born to know, and now it's time to stop doubting what heaven already confirmed. There's something sacred about your discernment. It's not just a skill. It's not something you learned. It's something that was breathed into you before you were even born, a divine filter placed over your soul. And every time you trust it, every time you act on what your spirit shows you, you sharpen the sword of your destiny. It's not paranoia when your spirit tells you to move. It's not fear when your energy withdraws from something that looks perfect on the surface. It's not weakness when you say no with no explanation. That's spiritual defense. That's heaven's alarm system going off inside of you. And chosen one, your job is not to explain that to people who are committed to misunderstanding the way you move. Your job is to honor it. That uneasiness you feel before making a decision, trust it. That peace you feel when something aligns, follow it. That random urgency to walk away, to go silent, to switch direction, don't second guess it, because while others rely on data and logic, you are led by divine downloads. While others are trying to make sense of situations from the outside, you are receiving clarity from within. This is your armor, your shield. It doesn't flash or shout, but it guards you from what would have destroyed you. And every time you trust it, you grow more in tune with heaven's voice. Sometimes what you feel won't make sense to anyone else. That's okay. You weren't designed to walk the same road. You weren't called to take consensus before moving. You weren't meant to fit in circles that celebrate the surface while avoiding the truth. There is power in moving quietly, in trusting what you can't fully explain, and in honoring the inner shift that tells you, this isn't for me. You don't owe anyone a presentation for your protection, and when you stop trying to convince others of your insight, when you stop shrinking your power to make others comfortable, when you stop asking for permission to trust what your soul already knows, you start walking in your full authority. The world will try to tell you that you're being too cautious, that you're judging too quickly, that you're missing opportunities. But what they don't understand is that you're not operating on the world's timing. You're operating on divine instruction. And that instruction doesn't answer to the calendar or the trends or the applause of others. It answers to truth. There's a reason you keep avoiding disasters you never saw with your eyes. There's a reason you walk away from situations that later explode. There's a reason you trust the feeling long before the facts show up. Because you were anointed to discern, not just observe. That's why people talk behind your back in confusion. They can't figure out how you keep dodging traps they set. They don't understand why nothing ever really touches you. They don't realize you were warned long before they even made the move. It's not luck, it's discernment, and it is your divine inheritance. The world will never teach you to trust it. In fact, it will teach you to override it, to rationalize it, to bury it under opinions and pressure. But when you're chosen, your protection comes through obedience. You can't afford to second guess what heaven has clearly shown you, and it's not just about avoiding harm, it's about being positioned, because there are doors you'll only walk through when you trust that still small voice. There are blessings you'll only catch when you're willing to move before it makes sense. There are relationships you'll only protect when you listen to your energy, even when the person says all the right things. Discernment doesn't always feel loud. Sometimes it feels like a whisper that won't go away. Sometimes it's a restlessness you can't shake. Sometimes it's peace in a place that makes no logical sense, and other times it's discomfort in the middle of comfort. But whatever form it takes, it's your lifeline. It's heaven pulling you toward the path of purpose. It's the divine steering you away from traps designed to delay or destroy you. And the more you trust it, the stronger it becomes. People may never understand why you move the way you do, why you stay quiet in rooms where everyone else speaks, why you leave when the energy shifts, even when no words have been said, why you stop answering calls you once rushed to pick up. But you know, because your spirit has been trained to detect danger before it takes shape. You know because you've learned the hard way. Peace is expensive and your spirit is priceless. You've been through too much to ignore your gift now. You've paid too much to downplay your discernment now. You've survived too many betrayals to start questioning your gut now. And here's the truth. Some people are confused how you keep winning, how you keep growing, how you keep finding your way when all odds are stacked against you. But that's because they don't realize something. You are guided, not just gifted. You are protected, not just lucky. You are anointed, not just intuitive. Your steps are not random. They're divinely aligned. Your instincts are not guesses. They're downloads from heaven. Your silence is not avoidance. It's strategy. And every time you follow that strategy, you step deeper into alignment with the life you were always meant to live. You are not crazy for walking away when everyone else stays. You are not cold for protecting your peace. You are not antisocial for pulling back when the vibe is off. You are wise. You are tuned in. You are unapologetically chosen. That's why they ask questions they'll never ask out loud. How did you know? Why didn't you stay? Why do you look so at peace while everything around you is falling apart? Because you are living from a place they haven't accessed. Because you are led by a source they don't understand. Because you are walking in divine timing, not man's approval. And when you walk in divine timing, the entire game changes. Because nothing can touch what heaven has covered. Because no lie can outlast the truth you carry. Because no weapon formed against you can stand when your steps are ordered by the Most High. You've been through too much to play small now. You've healed too much to stay stuck now. You've seen too much to pretend you don't know better. So, stand tall in your knowing. Rest in your discernment. Walk in your divine rhythm. Let the world wonder how you keep showing up with clarity and grace. Let them marvel at your peace. Let them try to explain the light they can't dim. You don't need to be loud about your power. Your alignment speaks volumes. Your presence is prophetic. Your life is the evidence. So move in purpose. Speak when led. Hold your peace when necessary. And trust that everything meant for you will find you, because your spirit is already tuned to receive it. Chosen one, you are not late. You are not behind. You are not off track. You are right where you're meant to be, covered, connected, and completely in sync with the frequency of heaven. The doors are already opening. The path is already clearing. The instructions are already downloading. You don't have to beg for direction. You don't have to strive for clarity. You just have to listen and follow. Because when you trust the voice within, you'll always find yourself exactly where God intended you to be. In the right place, at the right time, with the right peace. And when you show up like that, nothing can stop you. You were never too sensitive. You were never overthinking. You were never imagining things that weren't there. You were just surrounded by people who couldn't see what you saw. You were just moving through environments that weren't equipped to hold the depth of your knowing. You were trying to explain spiritual realities to people who only understand surface-level illusions. And that's why it felt so hard. That's why you questioned yourself. That's why you spent so many nights wondering, what's wrong with me? When the truth is, everything right with you simply made others uncomfortable. Chosen one, you are not broken. You are gifted. You've been walking through life carrying a kind of vision that makes people uneasy. You pick up on what's left unsaid. You hear what's behind the tone. You see the cracks in the perfect smiles. You notice the small signs. The shift in energy, the forced laughter, the nervous glances. You feel it in your bones when something's off. And for far too long, people told you that wasn't real. They made you feel like your insight was an inconvenience. They treated your truth like a threat, because it was. You could see through the masks they were still trying to wear. You could name the pain they hadn't faced yet. You could feel the envy in the compliments. You could sense the betrayal in the silence, and the moment you called it out, or even just acted on it, suddenly you were the problem. But here's the truth they never told you. When you are gifted with sight, when you are chosen to walk with spiritual discernment, you will always disturb people who are comfortable in their deception. Your presence will feel like exposure. Your words, even if whispered, will feel like thunder. Because you're not just another person passing through. You are a mirror, a revealer, a reflection of what they're not ready to confront. You don't have to apologize for that anymore. You don't have to water yourself down so others can feel tall. You don't have to pretend not to know what you absolutely know. You don't have to silence your voice just because your clarity shakes the room. You're not too much. You are accurate. You are not paranoid. You are prophetic. You are not dramatic. You are deep. And the deeper you go, the more you uncover, not just in others, but in yourself. Because this journey wasn't just about seeing others clearly. It's about seeing you clearly. It's about healing the part of you that was taught to hide. It's about honoring the part of you that always knew, even when no one else did. It's about reclaiming your identity, not just as someone with discernment, but as someone with divine purpose. You were never meant to stay in shallow waters. You were born to swim in the depths, to go beyond appearances, to tap into truth. And the more you embrace that, the more powerful you become. But power, real power, the kind that's rooted in truth and not ego, doesn't need to be proven. It doesn't scream to be heard. It doesn't fight for approval. It simply is. And when you walk in that kind of power, everything changes. You start attracting people who see you not for what you can do, but for who you are. You start aligning with opportunities that match your frequency, not your fear. You start flowing with a peace that no one can disturb because it's built on revelation, not reputation. There's something that happens when you realize you don't need permission to be powerful. When you stop seeking validation and start living in alignment. When you stop dimming your light and start letting it burn, not to blind others, but to guide them. Not to impress, but to illuminate, because that's what you are now, a light, a path, a living revelation. And every time you choose authenticity over acceptance, you grow brighter. Every time you speak truth instead of settling for silence, you grow bolder. Every time you trust your knowing instead of conforming to the crowd, you grow wiser. And wisdom is a force this world cannot replicate. They can imitate charisma, they can fabricate charm, but they cannot copy divine wisdom. It comes from pain, from pressing, from long nights alone in the wilderness, asking questions heaven was waiting for you to ask. It comes from spiritual battles no one saw, victories no one applauded, and moments of clarity that arrived when everything else fell apart. So if you've ever wondered why you're so different, if you've ever felt like you're on the outside, looking in, if you've ever felt like people keep misunderstanding your silence, your distance, your intensity, it's because you're not made for the middle. You're made for the mountain. You're made for elevation, not comfort. You're made for revelation, not repetition. You're made to shake things up, not settle into systems that silence the soul. And yes, it's lonely sometimes. Yes, it's heavy. Yes, it can feel like no one understands. But you weren't created to be understood. You were created to lead, to break cycles, to call out truth, to set captives free. You were created To stand up when others bow down, to speak life when others spread death, to walk boldly when fear tells you to hide. There's a boldness rising in you, not the loud kind, not the boastful kind, the kind that is rooted in God, the kind that walks with quiet authority, the kind that says, I know who I am, I know what I carry, and I know why I'm here. You don't need the crowd to clap, you don't need them to understand, you just need to stay aligned. Because alignment is more powerful than applause. And when you are aligned with truth, with spirit, with your divine assignment, no force, no failure, no fear can stop what is meant for you. Chosen one, you are walking into a season where what once confused you is now becoming clear. What once hurt you is now your testimony. What once broke you is now your strength. You are no longer asking for directions from people who've never been where you're going. You are no longer looking to be included in spaces you've outgrown. You are becoming the space. You are becoming the voice. You are becoming the confirmation. And as you rise, those who were once confused by you will start coming to you for answers. Those who whispered will now watch in wonder. Those who doubted your gift will now witness its power. But you won't need to prove anything. You'll just keep walking in peace, in clarity, in truth. Because now you know you are not here to compete. You are here to complete a divine assignment. You are not here to chase. You are here to attract through alignment. You are not here to convince. You are here to command through truth. This is the moment you stop hiding. This is the moment you stop shrinking. This is the moment you stop questioning what heaven has already confirmed. You are not lost. You are not too late. You are not overlooked. You are becoming. And every step you take in your truth is rewriting everything that tried to break you. So keep walking, keep trusting, keep shining. The world has no idea the power it's about to witness through your next move. Because chosen one, this is not just your season, this is your rise. Chosen one, this is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of your divine rise. You may not see all the pieces yet. You may still be walking through the fog, still brushing off the residue of past battles, still healing wounds no one else can see. But heaven has not forgotten you. In fact, heaven has been preparing you. You haven't been overlooked. You've been hidden, not as a punishment, but as a divine strategy. Because some treasures are too sacred to be placed out in the open. Some oil is too precious to be poured out before the time is right. You were never behind. You were being built, not on the stage, but in the shadows, not in the applause, but in the stillness, not in the spotlight, but in the secret place where your spirit was forged in fire. Every delay was divine calibration. Every detour was sacred redirection. Every no was protection wrapped in silence. And every closed door was God's way of saying, not yet, because I'm making something greater. You weren't born to blend in. You weren't meant to merely exist. You carry something that can't be taught. You carry light in your bones. You carry destiny in your hands. You carry answers this world doesn't even know it's asking for yet. And now is the time to stop hiding your glow. Now is the time to stop doubting your power. Now is the time to stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to walk in what was already written in your spirit. You've been through too much to play small. You've seen too much to keep pretending you don't. Know who you are. And if the world is still blind to it, that's okay. Because you didn't need them to recognize you. You just needed to remember yourself. You are not here by accident. You are not breathing right now by chance. Your life is not random. Your presence here in this moment is divine alignment. Everything you've walked through, everything you've survived, everything you've discerned, felt and known, it's all been preparing you for this. To become who you were always meant to be. You are a light in dark places. You are a voice in the wilderness. You are the calm in the storm. You are the truth in a world of performance. You are the one who sees, the one who knows, the one who awakens the atmosphere just by showing up. Your spiritual gifts weren't a mistake. Your deep emotions weren't weaknesses. Your seasons of isolation weren't wasted. Your losses weren't the end of your purpose. They were a refining fire. They were heaven's way of removing the noise, the distractions, the counterfeit, and calling you back home to your authentic essence. That quiet strength you've cultivated, that patience you've learned, that inner knowing you kept trying to ignore, that boldness that scares even you sometimes, that's not just personality. That's divine inheritance. You were born with spiritual eyes in a blind world. You were marked for truth in a time of mass illusion. You were called to walk in alignment when others are addicted to attention. And yes, that road is narrow. Yes, that road is lonely. But that road is sacred because few are willing to walk it, and fewer still are chosen to lead others through it. Don't shrink to fit what you've outgrown. Don't silence your voice just to keep the peace. Don't dim your light to keep others comfortable in their darkness. There is a world waiting for the real you, the unfiltered, unshaken, fully awakened version of you. Not the version you had to become to survive, not the version they wanted you to be, but the version God designed, the one who walks with holy fire in their chest and clarity in their soul, the one who doesn't flinch when confronted with lies, the one who knows how to walk away without bitterness because they trust that what's ahead is far greater than what they left behind. You are the storm's calm. You are the mountain mover. You are the intercessor that hell fears. You are the gatekeeper of sacred wisdom. You are the generational breaker, the legacy rebuilder, the quiet warrior with thunder in your truth, and the time has come to own that. To wear it with reverence, to walk in it with confidence, not arrogance, but bold, spirit-led certainty, because when you move like you are sent, everything shifts. When you speak from alignment, chains break. When you step out in faith, realms open. When you live in obedience, generational blessings flow. You are not here to play it safe. You are not here to ask for crumbs. You are not here to stay small, just to keep others from feeling insecure. You are here to expand, to take up space, to radiate, to transform rooms just by being in them. Your peace is power. Your clarity is authority. Your stillness is warfare. Your obedience is breakthrough, and you don't need everyone to see it. You don't need everyone to believe in it. You just need to remember who you are and walk accordingly. Heaven is backing you. Angels are surrounding you. The path has already been made straight, even if your feet are trembling. You don't need the full map to take the next step. You just need to trust the voice that has never led you wrong. Every time you followed that voice, it protected you. Every time you ignored it, it gave you grace. And every time you doubted it, it waited patiently until you were ready. Now you're ready. Now you see. Now you know. So take your place, stand tall in your purpose, move in the rhythm of divine timing, speak with the authority of someone who has been through the fire and came out refined, not ruined. You are not a victim. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are a vessel of glory, chosen for such a time as this. And this is your moment to rise, not to impress, not to perform, but to become the one you've always known you are, to step into rooms and shift atmospheres, to walk through doors only obedience could open, to be the evidence of God's power in the earth. Let them wonder how you made it. Let them question how you're still standing. Let them whisper, how did they know? And let your answer be simple. I was chosen, I was guided, and I listened. Now walk. With head high, spirit steady, eyes clear and heart open, because everything you've been carrying is about to make sense. Everything you've sown in tears is about to return in overflow. Everything you've lost is being replaced with something sacred. The world hasn't seen the fullness of who you are yet, but heaven already has. And that's why the door is opening. Now, because it's time, chosen one, this is your rise. This is your release. This is your divine unveiling. Walk boldly and don't look back.